What's going on, everyone? Welcome back. Today we've got our Week 6 fantasy football running back starts and sits for every single matchup, so make sure to tune in. If you enjoy, hit that like button, subscribe, give us a follow on Twitter at AllDayPigskin to continue interacting with us there. Let us hear it in the comment section. Do you agree, disagree, along with any other questions you guys might have? We will do our best to answer them all. But with that being said, let's get right into it. Today's video is brought to you guys by Birddogs. And look, I know we're all searching for that perfect pair of shorts or pants that offers the best style, the best comfort, the best bang for your buck. Well, guess what? That search is over because Birddogs offers all of that and so much more. If you're looking for shorts, they have a ton of options with activewear, casual wear, or even beachwear. On top of that, their pants have a selection of khakis, joggers, and sweatpants. So what are you waiting for? Regardless of the occasion of the season, get yourself the most stylish, the most comfortable pair of pants with a built-in liner from Birddogs.com. And if you use promo code ADP today, you'll get a free rope hat with your purchase. Again, that's Birddogs.com, code ADP, and you'll get a free rope hat with your purchase. Make sure to check out birddogs.com, link in the description. And we kick off week 6 with Washington at the Bears here. You know, in terms of exciting factor, this probably won't be that high on the list, but there is actually some fantasy upside with at least one player here, and that is one David Montgomery of the Chicago Bears. So he returned this last week versus the Vikings after missing a week with a minor injury. And, you know, he very quickly reasserted himself as the primary guy. And as great as Khalil Herbert has been in moments spelling Montgomery, you know, with Montgomery back, he is a handcuff. That's it. So that's why you see him as a sit. While Montgomery versus this awful Washington defense, you know, he's delivering as a pass catcher on this offense. And he could very well get like 15 to 20 plus carries in this game. I like him here, even with a bad Bears offense. This is the type of game where Montgomery can have a lot of usage. I view him as a low-end RB1 on the week. And then for Washington, even though the Bears' rush defense isn't the best, I think right now there's this running back by committee. And obviously it stems from Brian Robinson returning, making his season debut. Didn't do anything special this last week, but his usage is going to increase more and more and more. And, you know, bad news for Antonio Gibson. I do think Robinson will at some point in the season warrant starting, but I think right now it's just a little bit too soon. So for that reason, you know, if both these guys only get like 10 carries, it's tough for me to tell you, okay, you should start them, especially with how bad the Washington offense has been. And then McKissick, more so just a pass-catching running back. Not enough faith in him here. I'm sitting him as well. Then Ravens at the Giants. I'll start Saquon Barkley. That's simple enough. You know, nothing too crazy there. Not an ideal matchup. I think it'll be tougher, but to me, he's still a top 10 guy. And then for the Ravens, maybe a bit of a surprise, but I'm sitting J.K. Dobbins. The reason that I say that is because, look, he doesn't offer much as a pass catcher, and we just haven't been seeing the volume from him in terms of usage. Sure, when he made his season debut, he had a lot of success, but that's because he found the end zone multiple times. If he's not finding the end zone, he's not delivering too much here. I mean, if you're rushing for less than 10 attempts a game, that's going to be problematic. And even in a game where it could be closer, lower scoring, like the Ravens and the Bengals, I mean, this just happened this last week. Dobbins didn't do all that much, so I'm a little bit scared here with him. Maybe if you're in a standard scoring format, if you're desperate, you know, there's been a lot of injuries, you take a shot at him as an RB3, but I do think, you know, it's going to be kind of boom or bust with Dobbins. Then Jags at the Colts. So here I'm primarily looking at the Colts side of things. A lot of asterisks next to these names, but let's break it down. So Jonathan Taylor missed this last week, but I don't think the injury is too serious, so maybe he's got a chance to return in week 6. And if he does, all these other Indy names are a moot point. I do have Nyheim Hines listed as a potential start, but I think that'll be a long shot considering the concussion that he just suffered. So we'll see. But if he does play and Jonathan Taylor doesn't, you know, I think he could be a sneaky high-end RB3, you know, low-end RB2. And then if both those guys are unavailable, Deion Jackson is the primary name. I wouldn't get too cute with Phillip Lindsay here. I think Jackson is the preferred option. And to me, he'd be a low-end RB2. And then for the Jaguars, look, might be a bit of a surprise to see Etienne and Robinson both listed as sits, but, maybe this last week was kind of that transition point where this is becoming more of a running back by committee where Etienne might take over. Robinson was great to kick off the season, but this last week, the yards per rush haven't been all that great for James Robinson. Etienne looked better this last week. We'll see, but I think it's going to be more of an equal split. I think that right now, even the Colts, they're not that great of a team. Just a little bit too difficult to predict. I would use this week kind of as an indicator with these two running backs and then make decisions fantasy-wise about them after that point. Afterwards, Patriots at the Browns. I actually really like this matchup for the running backs involved. Damian Harris, if he plays, I would start him, but he suffered a hamstring. Those are notoriously very fickle injuries, so I wouldn't be shocked if he doesn't play. And if he doesn't, Ramondre Stevenson to the moon, man. He'd be in, I think, low-end RB1 category. The Browns have not been good stopping the run. Opposing running backs have had a lot of fantasy success with versus them, and Stevenson should get a lot of volume on an offense that's going to want to prioritize the run. Then for the Browns, Nick Chubb has been arguably the most consistent running back in all of fantasy football, top 5 running back across all formats. You continue to start him. Kareem Hunt, a solid flex PPR play, kind of in that RB3, RB2 border that you continue to start. Moving on, Bengals at the Saints. You start the two top guys here in Joe Mixon and Alvin Kamara. Mixon, he's not seeing the same touchdown success. The Saints, they've got a stingy defense. This game is in New Orleans. I think with Mixon, we just kind of got to view him more as an RB2. That's the main thing. And then for the Saints, Alvin Kamara, great week this last matchup versus the Seahawks. But obviously, if you're a Kamara owner, you're extremely frustrated with Taysom Hill and annoyed by all those touchdown vultures. We're going to have to see what happens with Kamara once Jameis Winston returns because he wasn't being utilized as a pass catcher then. That's one of the reasons why he had such a great week in week 5. Andy Dalton was looking with those short dink and dump passes to him. So there's a lot of question marks with Kamara. I have him as a low-end RB1. But I will say, even though this isn't the segment that we cover this in, Kamara could be a solid sell-high candidate at this point in time. Then Bucs at the Steelers. I'm really only interested in Leonard Fournette. At least he's the sure thing here. Again, I don't think he's going to have as excellent of a game as he did versus the Falcons, but to me, he's a low-end RB1 nonetheless. For the Steelers, might sound crazy, but I'm sitting Najee Harris. Yes, I realize you invested a first-round pick in him, but we saw what the Steelers' offense looks like with Kenny Pickett versus elite competition. And even though the Bucs aren't as good as the Bills, I think they have the same potential to blow out the Steelers here. I don't think it'll be as bad. So, Najee Harris will probably have a better game, but what he did was almost nothing versus the Bills, and that's going to be the worry here with these Steelers running backs. If they get in situations where the offense is down fast, down big, they're going to abandon their run. And because of that, I think Harris is a little bit too risky. Obviously, it's going to be very tough to bench a guy that you drafted this early. So I know not a lot of people are going to take this stance, but just realize he is boom or bust. Then 49ers at the Falcons, really only interested in Jeff Wilson here. I wouldn't get caught up in the hype of Tevin Coleman. He faced an awful Panthers team. That was a blowout, so he had some success. But Jeff Wilson, until Elijah Mitchell returns, is the dude. And I think he should be a high-end RB2 on the week for the Falcons without Cordero Patterson versus a great 49ers defense. You sit everyone there. It's as simple as that. Moving on, Jets at the Packers. Breece Hall, did we finally see that breakout from him? Is this going to be the full transition to him being the guy? Potentially, but Michael Carter isn't going away. I'd start both of them. Breece Hall, I've been saying this since the get-go, even though I didn't support his ADP. He definitely, out of these two guys, has the higher upside. I think that Breece Hall is a mid-level RB2. Michael Carter, more so in that RB3, RB2 range. and a little bit more touchdown dependent. For the Packers, Aaron Jones, A.J. Dillon, I think they both have bounce-back performances. This Jets defense doesn't scare me. I think the Packers offense as a whole has a bounce-back performance compared to what they did versus the Giants. I see Aaron Jones as an RB1. A.J. Dillon, more so a standard type of scoring running back. I have him as again, RB3, RB2 type of dude. Moving on, Vikings at the Dolphins. I'll start Dalvin Cook. Finally saw a vintage Dalvin Cook game. Now, I would say expectations here are going to be starting with the Dolphins, depending on who is their quarterback. Is it going to be Tua? Bridgewater got hurt. They're down to their third-string quarterback. If it's Tua, then I feel better about Raheem Mostert. Even Chase Edmonds, who I currently have as a sit. Mostert kind of, maybe it's just 1 week and it was that type of situation, but he seemingly distanced himself from Chase Edmonds, got a lot of usage, and, you can potentially look at him as a low-end RB2 as long as that usage continues, and then Edmonds is a sit. Moving on, Panthers at the Rams. You start all the running backs here. I mean, with McCaffrey, that's not a surprise. Baker Mayfield is hurt, so I actually think that with P.J. Walker being the quarterback, that could be a better thing for McCaffrey. McCaffrey has had success with Walker before, and even though this Panthers team won't change with the firing of their head coach, offensively, I do think McCaffrey should have some more success here. He's an RB1. For the Rams, this might sound crazy that I have both Cam Akers and Darrell Henderson as starts, but the Panthers are god-awful. Again, Matt Rule being fired won't change things overnight. Akers got all of the rushing opportunity. Darrell Henderson didn't this last week. I think both guys will have opportunities. I could see this being a blowout and the Rams having a lot of success versus the Panthers. That's why I would take a chance on both Akers and Henderson. I think they are both kind of in that RB2, RB3 category. Afterwards, Cardinals at the Seahawks. Again, a game with a lot of asterisks with the running back position, primarily for the Cardinals. James Conner got hurt. Darrell Williams got hurt. But whoever the starting running back here is, if it's Eno Benjamin, he's going to be a hot waiver wire priority name. The Seahawks have been god-awful versus the run, and the primary guy here could be a high-end RB2, even in the RB1 category, so definitely keep an eye out for that. For Seattle, tough break for Rashad Penny, out for the year, so, the Seahawks move on, and that means it is Kenneth Walker season. So if you have Kenneth Walker, he's the guy now, and he's going to get the bulk of the opportunities. So he basically fits into that Rashad Penny role. I do think he has a little bit of higher upside due to pass catching ability, so I have him as a low-end RB2. Then Bills at the Chiefs. This should be a high-scoring affair, at least hopefully. I know Singletary didn't have the best game, but again, you're starting a running back when you're up 30+. He's not going to get a lot of usage. I think this will not be the case versus the Chiefs. I think Singletary bounces back. I have him as a low-end RB2. The Chiefs, at the time of recording, they still haven't played, but in a high-scoring affair, I think CH will have a lot of opportunities, so I would be starting him here. I think he has a little bit higher upside than Singletary. I have him as a mid-level RB2 on the week. Then Cowboys at the Eagles. I'll start Zeke. I'll start Miles Sanders. Sanders didn't have a lot of success because he didn't find the end zone, but the rushing attempts are very, very nice to see with what they were. So you continue to fire him up. Bit of a tough matchup versus the Cowboys, stingy defense, but I think he's a low-end RB2. Same with Ezekiel Elliott. I know people are going to freak out. Tony Pollard, he had that big run, touchdown. But Zeke got so many more rushing opportunities than Tony Pollard. So I'm not afraid of Ezekiel Elliott. I don't know if it's going to be Dak Prescott here at quarterback or rush. I don't know, but I'd still take a chance on Zeke. Again, the upside not quite as high without Dak there, but still I think he is kind of in that low-end RB2 category. And then Tony Pollard, I wouldn't go chasing the points. I still have him as a sit. Afterwards, Broncos at the Chargers. I'll start the main guys here. Melvin Gordon, obviously without Javonte Williams. I like him. People probably spend a lot of fab on Mike Boone, but I think Melvin Gordon is the primary guy. Boone is going to be more so an option if Gordon is hurt. So Gordon I have as a low-end RB2 just because this Broncos offense doesn't look great right now, so that could hurt them. For the Chargers, Austin Eckler. I told you folks, be patient with Eckler. This is still an elite offense. Sure, when Keenan Allen returns, whenever that is, that's going to take away from Eckler's pass catching, but to me, he's still an RB1 top 10 running back on the week. But with that, we wrap up our Week 6 fantasy football running back starts and sits for every single matchup. If you guys enjoyed, hit that like button, subscribe, give us a follow on Twitter at AllDayPigskin. Let us hear in the comment section, did you agree, disagree, along with any other questions you guys might have. We will do our best to answer them all. But in the meantime, we'll see you guys in future videos.